Hello, I'm Tzvi, and
I'm
this is
Divya.
Divya. Yeah,
Yeah.
hi. So we had a brief Twitter exchange, which maybe I'll just read the whole exchange because it's very short.
Sure.
Uh, Actually, I guess I never read this tweet about Chipotle. I'll read the. So Divya's quote tweeting a tweet. The quote Divya is quote tweeting a tweet that says, "Chipotle isn't slop. I remember the '90s. These didn't exist where I grew up. Fresh ingredients, good macros. We're blessed with riches and no one's happy. You can buy a giant burrito for $12. The only downside is that eating quality food in or next to a parking lot is somewhat dispiriting." And then Divya says, "I will die on the hill that slop is usually used as a slur for anything cheap, and cheap is extremely, extremely important." And then I replied, not to disagree, which I don't disagree, not to disagree, but there are costs that are hard to track. In particular, slop increases the possible, but distorts slash decreases the adjacent possible. When you've made slop, you come out holding more and understanding less in some important dimensions. And then I linked to this post that
Yeah.
I wrote called "The Ease Disease," and then you replied, "I read what you wrote, and I think I basically disagree with the overall mood of it." So we have a disagreement that we could explore. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I guess I'll say like the denotation of what you said in your tweet and the denotations of the things that I like stood out to me in your post, I think I agree with. So I I do think there's some disagreement because I'm kind of like, no, I wouldn't have written that the way you wrote it. But it's not because I think you're saying things that are not true,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I can tell.
Gotcha.
That's
What's
true.
the mood, or why wouldn't you have written that?
Well, okay, let me look at it again. So I just pulled it out. Because I think. Okay, maybe I should first try to summarize it. So I like that you have a very early example. Your first example is you have these beautiful pavers, and then you have some concrete. You probably didn't see this tweet, but I've tweeted about. I had an older tweet that was something like "Civilization advances one slop at a time," and I think I tweeted that when I was watching a truck pour concrete.
I think I
And
may have seen that. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's I'm like, okay, we're already sort of on the same page here. Obviously, you're not like no one should ever have concrete or anything like that. You say it's less pleasing. I'm like, yeah, it sure does seem less pretty than this picture of the pavers in I don't know if they're called paver, but anyway, this like paved road in Lisbon with lots of little I don't know tiles. I'm not sure. Small individual
Yeah.
stones in a pattern.
Yeah. It's like a
I think
mosaic.
that's
Yeah.
not called a tile. I think tiles are flat and ceramic, so not that. But let's see. And I mean, certainly you're talking about that if people are using these types of inputs, then there's like less surface area that people are interacting with. That's is that an okay summary of one thing you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
It's not the whole. It's not the whole idea, but
This
yeah,
is not the whole thing you're saying. Yeah, I'm
that's part of it.
reviewing
Yeah.
it now because it was I don't know some hours ago that I read it. You talk about tweaking existing. So the words example did not resonate with me. Why figure out piano when you can just say big box, you fight him, he cry, which only words uses words you know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, there's nothing exactly that this was maybe the example I resonated with the least, which could be interesting. And you love myriad cheap consumer project products, so that's again like point of agreement. Blender, keyboard, water bottle, computer, mouse. You love hard, flat, non-sloshy roads. Remember about possibilities. Maybe I'm not. I'm rereading this, and you're here, and I'm like tempted to be like, I don't even disagree with anything. But I think that's not true. I think there is something that I do disagree with.
You could even disagree with something that I don't think it didn't say, and then you could
Yeah,
just say that.
totally
Yeah.
right. You not only didn't say, but you don't even think it. No amount of asphalt paving machines at any insanely cheap price will produce this pavement. I mean, I do think people could automate producing something that's a lot like that pavement, which is maybe beside the point, but I do think that's true. Like, it has not been automated yet, but I don't think that means it couldn't be.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I
Here's what I disagree with. I disagree with the title, the ease disease. I didn't click through and read following the principle of least effort off a cliff, completely forgetting the aura of possibilities. I think that's the part bowing to the law of the hammer. I think that's the part I disagree with. I wouldn't call it the ease disease.
hmm. um well, I mean, so I'm certainly not saying that like if we decide to make like more or less all of our roads or most of our roads or a huge number of roads using concrete or asphalt or whatnot, I'm not saying that that is like as such or like inherently diseased. Um, I guess what I'm
Fair.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that um,
Like losing track
yeah,
of the difference.
um, it's not. I'm not even worried about people losing track of the difference between the results. I guess what I'm worried about is um, okay, I can't put my finger on like if there may not be like one particular like social or behavioral like type of effect that I'm worried about. I, okay, I guess what I'm worried about is like there's an important thing to me, which is the thing where a human is like carefully going over something, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you were saying, the surface area of like running your hands over something once tells you something, and then running your hands over something 100 times tells you more and a different type of thing. Um, and it's but it feels so the ease disease to me is I guess forgetting that or not investing in that or something like that. Yeah.
And do you think it's motivated by a desire for things to be easy? Like, why is it called the ease disease?
mm, Motivated by I mean it's the ease disease because it's like for various reasons you like do the thing that's easy like
No,
for
but the
various
okay, and then the easy thing involves not running your hands over the thing a thousand
yes,
times
yeah.
for various reasons. You do the thing that's easy. Hmm. Yeah, I don't. Okay, this maybe I can try to understand better something about why it's called the ease disease. But you just try to answer it, but I want to understand it more. Like, I don't know if you called it something like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not claiming this is a good title or anything, but something like something is lost when things aren't human scale or something, or like human scale is maybe the wrong word. I think that's like a could be a Christopher Alexander term or like an architect's term. Like, there's something, and again, it's with like humanoid robots. This could all be produced without actual humans. But I do think there's some principle that people often like it aesthetically when the whole like the scene sort of when things look somewhat like there was an individual artisan involved. And there are benefits of the type you're talking about also to when that is the case. In a bunch of ways, like, yeah, people have more surface area, they're doing more skill building. It's also sort of like people are less like disembodied from their creations. They can like more easily like customize things. Like, I don't know, there's sort of like a cluster of things that people tend to like, and often it's kind of visible even when. And then I think part of the claim also is people like it even when it's sort of not really true. Like, I forget what those things are called. Transoms? No, that's a type of window. The thing where windows have those crossbars.
Okay.
Like, I think,
like like 3 or 4 horizontal and 3 or 4 vertical or something.
yeah, maybe depending on the size of the window. And my understanding this may be wrong is that it used to just be like much cheaper to produce glass in like smaller pieces, and so that's why that happened. And now it's easy to produce glass. So insofar as things look like that, they've just like added it on top. It's not not individual pieces of glass. That would actually be more expensive. But often, and some of this is shallow. People are like, oh, it looks kind of like that other thing. But I think some of it's like, no, it looks like individual pieces of a size that a human could manipulate, and there's something I like about that. Like there's sort of a whole aesthetic there that I think is deep and I think is real. I don't know. Is this at all connecting to what you're saying, or
It's I feel like it's adjacent or related, but I wouldn't say it's the center of gravity of like where my like attention or my motivation to write this is coming from.
yeah,
Rather,
that makes
it's
sense. I guess I'm like that's a thing that resonates with me more. That has
I
some
see,
things in common with what you said, but
I
I
see,
agree. Is I also don't think that's what you said.
I
I
see.
Even though I might have started saying that because I was trying to understand what you said. Having said it, I agree. It's not what you said.
Um, I mean, like the window thing. I mean, I guess those particular windows I do find probably a bit more aesthetically pleasing, at least from the outside. Maybe from the inside, I prefer the clear window, but because it's more functional. But uh, I mean, my worry is like, well, now if the thing with the thing with the crossbars doesn't really help my real concern here because my real concern is
For
like
sure.
there
Yeah.
now there are fewer artisans who can make like a truly unique, beautiful thing, or
Okay, but is that true?
I don't know that so that would be a crux for this particular thing. I not
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, sorry. I'm not actually. I didn't mean to actually assert that, even though I did assert
Okay.
it. uh, I guess it's more of a metaphor. Okay, I mean, like I mean to spell out the metaphor, it would be like okay, if I want to like become a good writer, how much
Hmm.
should I use AI or how should I use AI? I think AI is very useful for things like you can search, you can have it critique things, you can have blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
you know, there's a different thing that happens when you're like running your fingers over your thought in the form of a paragraph or a sentence
Yeah.
or a whole chunk. You probably
Yeah.
agree with that.
I just for sure. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so that's I mean, I feel like that's the straightforward point that
Well,
I'm
but
trying to
okay,
put
but
forward
I
there.
guess I'm like I still don't understand. For sure, if someone wanted to become a good writer,
It's the
I.
ease disease because you could. It's so because it's easy. You can reach for this thing, which is really easy, and then you don't have to do the
But in
more
which
effort.
context are people reaching for that thing? Are you like because it's cheap to do it in a bunch of areas where people sort of like have no choice but to produce some output? Then they gain skill. Is it that?
Uh,
Like certainly kids are using AI to write to do their writing homework for sure. But I don't think that's
well,
mostly what you're talking about, unless it
I mean,
is.
like in that particular case, I'm like, well, my prior is that the homework is not good for them, or it's not worth the cost, or something, or you should
Right, right.
figure
So
out a
you're
way.
not mostly talking about that.
Correct.
Or
Correct. I'm mostly talking about my center of attention would be on like one's personal decisions for oneself, like how do I want to make use of tools in
okay.
general, I guess.
But do you think that someone who's like trying to become a writer is sort of tempted to use AI for their writing more than is good for for their development because it's easier?
That is yes, that's the kind of thing I'm worried about. I'm not very confident about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I feel okay with my most of my uses of things,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, for example, I it's a conscious it's not infrequently for me. It's a conscious decision for me to work out math myself in my own head or on a piece of paper, as opposed to asking an AI. An AI could definitely, well, not definitely. In many cases, an AI could just do it perfectly fine, very quickly,
Yeah.
and even explain it reasonably well to me.
Yeah.
But it the results are actually worse for me on the
Mm-hmm.
scale of like a week.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. No argument from me about that.
Mhm.
Certainly, I think there are things in my life that I think I've made analogous choices. Nothing that's super obvious is coming to mind, but I think that's true of me too.
I am curious about your distaste or disagreement or what you might be defending or whatnot. Like, or
Well,
does it seem like does it seem like I'm attacking something? I guess.
no, no. When you're talking now, no. But I am like, but then why did you call it the Ease disease?
Um, because it's a disease about easy things. I
No,
don't
but
know.
what's okay? What's the disease? Like, is it that you think a bunch of people are doing it wrong in this direction?
I don't. I guess I don't have a strong claim like that.
I mean, I
Maybe I
agree.
have a
You
weak
certainly
claim.
didn't say that, but
Well, uh, so I use this other example, which is like the thing about the phone. Uh,
okay. Let me look back.
I think people are definitely doing that one. Basically, like you know, you want to be around people, you want to talk to
Oh,
people, you want to
yeah.
see people's faces. It's so much easier to do that with your phone. But then
I don't,
you
sorry. Okay,
is
yeah.
that not you're
Keep
saying
going.
that's not your experience? I think other people do that, if not you. Or sorry, or
It's
what were you gonna say?
I'm skeptical of this narrative about phones. I understand.
Okay.
So, like, point of evidence, huge point of evidence in favor of there is something like this going on is that many people describe their own experience this way, and I, by default, tend to believe people about their own experience. But no, no, it doesn't resonate with me. And there's some sense in which I am like, I think people are conceptualizing of their experience wrong, though, who am I to say? But I do have some inside view along those lines.
Okay, so when you're saying it doesn't resonate for you, you're saying like for you personally and the people that you see personally, it doesn't seem true that they are
Not I
sacrificing
mean,
like
the people I see personally, it seems like a bit confusing about that because again, some people that I know, I can think of experiences I've had with people that I know personally where they self-describe as such, and I'm like, well, that carries a lot of weight for me. But no, it does not, like, my own perceptions about myself do not match that, and it's not. I think if other people had not been telling me that this seems true about themselves, I wouldn't have come up with this theory about other people based on other things I can observe about them. I could be wrong, of course, but I'm interested in my inside view, even if it is wrong.
um, okay, so is the overall vibe like just the most or all of the examples don't really resonate for you as something that you feel like you're worried about for yourself?
Well, I mean, I guess the one with the paving stones, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to evaluate whether I'm worried about that for myself. Like, is that insofar as that is a metaphor for things in my life, I do not feel worried. Again, maybe I should, but I do not intuitively feel worried about picking asphalt, losing track of the benefits of laying the stones and having more surface area with what I'm working on. Maybe I should be, but I do not feel worried about the metaphors I can think of that come to mind in my life.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe it's not, maybe it just doesn't apply to you, or you've solved all these types of problems.
No, no, sorry, I
No,
didn't think of it
that's
as,
positive. Yeah,
but it's not how I think of it. I'm more like, to me, it seems like a misconceptualized sort of
gotcha.
situation,
Hmm.
unless that
Gotcha.
I've solved them. I'm more like, I mean, it's true that, and again, like a thing that you didn't say that I think you also don't think, but that other people sometimes say that's adjacent to what you say, is that it's kind of valuable to have some sort of gradient of learning opportunity. I mean, I don't 0% believe this, but like there's some sort of natural gradient of learning, and then people, if things are too easy, then people will sort of be fine until then they're faced with something too, I mean, this, yeah, until they're faced with something too hard, and then at that point they have no options or something. Like, it doesn't, I think I'm not like passing the ITT of people who say this because it kind of doesn't make that much sense to me.
We're talking about like where people are being forced or nudged or whatever into stuff that they don't necessarily want to do at the moment in the moment, and then that like schoolwork, for example, or
No, or like people say it about like not just about what's people be like kids these days don't have social skills because they're on their phone and then they're like stuck in a bad equilibrium where now like socializing isn't even good because they don't have social skills because they weren't like they weren't like forced to practice their social skills because they had this other thing. People say stuff like that. It seems different from what you're saying.
it doesn't it does seem sort of related to what I'm saying, but not like what I guess what my attention is more like on the kids' internal decision making. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do I relate to this techno? Like, I could set on my like. I don't have a strong opinion about that case. Like, I don't because I mean
Yeah.
I don't have kids yet, so I don't know what like.
But like adults, whatever people could say about adults too.
Yeah, I mean, like it would be a decision a kid would make. Like, do I want to spend another hour on social media on my phone, or do I want to physically go meet some friends? And
Right.
they both have pluses and minuses.
Yeah, so
I
that
don't.
I'm like, okay, I'm not I'm not sensing any disagreement when you say that. I'm like, that seems
I guess I mean like
but yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm like, but you called it the Ease disease. But I've said this like 5 times now. I don't know.
yeah. Why did I call it these
Why
disease?
did you call it the Ease disease?
I mean I'm trying to like I guess I'm just I mean I feel like I'm saying something simple. So maybe it's not very interesting to disagree with, but I feel like I'm saying we keep getting more and more awesome cheap stuff,
Yeah.
like easy things in all sorts of domains and dimensions, and
Yeah.
this presents more and more of a choice for each person, like an
Okay.
internal choice for them to make, which is
Yeah.
how do I like decide when to like invest in doing something in a harder way, even though it in various ways is like more costly in the short term.
Right. No, for sure.
Okay, the ease disease is the thing that would happen if you made wrong choices in that problem.
Choices that overly prioritized ease. That type of wrong?
Overly prior.
No, that doesn't
Sure.
resonate with you.
Well, sure. I mean, it's not that. Yeah, or didn't take into account the benefits of running one's hands over things.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I don't we really don't disagree very much. Other than I mean there must be something, but maybe it's not very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I say here, like, the point isn't to be inefficient. If I have a point, the point is to remember about the possibilities for better results.
Yeah, which I mean I'm in favor of that
Mm.
for sure. Remembering about the possibilities of better results. I had not heard of. I mean, I've heard of Vim, but I don't know what NVim is. Is that just right? Is that
Oh, it's
that's a
just
type
Vim.
of Vim? It's just
Yeah.
Vim. But do you think the Emacs and Vim? This to me seemed like I was surprised by this example too because from my limited perspective, having used both of them some, Vim and Emacs are both examples of things that have like a difficult learning curve.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry. That
sorry.
is what you're
I
saying?
think, yeah, I think what I was trying to say is either one is
Oh,
good.
yeah, I see. Vim or Emacs, yes. Got it.
Yes.
Fair. Okay. Never mind. So if it was not meant to be, yes, fine. That was my poor reading comprehension. That's you like both of them.
Or I wrote confusingly one of those two, or both. Um,
Okay, fine. Yes,
okay.
I.
If no one decides to do it the hard way, it will never get done. That's the thing I worry about. That would be the ease disease. It never gets the thing. Something really cool never gets done because no one decides to do it the hard way. No one decides to do the things that they could have done easily the hard way.
Okay, but look, sometimes when I ask you questions, you're kind of like, look, I don't know. It's just people's choices. But there is some type of like you're not like oh no, or at least
Okay, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That's yeah, you're right that was a separate. Or sorry, keep going.
No, I think you got what I'm saying. You can keep going.
Right. It's not just people's choices. Yeah. The thing the quote I just read is a separate point, which is saying, um, and you're pushing back like you don't believe that it's really an issue. Like you don't believe that there's people as a whole are making a wrong choice in that regard. In the
I'm
regard of like,
skeptical. Yeah, I'm
yeah, okay,
skeptical. I'm like I'm
gotcha.
open to hearing about it, but I want to understand. It's a thing where it seems to be a systematic mismatch between how I see the world and how a lot of people see the world. Is that I'm less concerned about that sort of thing.
Hmm. Well, okay, so I mean, I would say that I mean, one of the motivators for me writing this is so the quote I just read, the next sentence there links to something about alignment.
Okay.
I don't think you need to look at it, or you could. But anyway, like the thing about alignment is like according to me and according to some other people, although this is certainly not consensus,
Sorry, is it the
alignment is
principle of least effort or the law of the hammer? Which one?
no, sorry, one
Neither.
paragraph before that, before the picture. If no one decides to do it the hard way, it will never get done. And then there's like a whole sentence that has a link.
Wei Dai's
Um,
short form. Vladimir Nesov. That
right.
sentence? Okay.
And that's oh, I guess it's actually about philosophy in general. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm now asserting authorial intent, which is that it's uh, in my head is things about AI alignment in particular.
Okay. Can you explain it to me? I was looking at that
Sure.
comment and I don't understand it yet
Right.
as it
So
relates to AI alignment anyway.
there's a thread of discussion that's been going on for some years, which is the idea of street lighting,
Focusing on the
where
things that are easy to look at because they're like searching for the keys under the street light instead of where the keys are because the guy says, oh, yeah,
right.
because that's where the light is.
And I take this sort of like very extreme line on this, or like pretty extreme line, which is that uh, uh, which is that almost all of science and math is street lighting
Mm.
in a sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
okay.
like, almost
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
science and math is street lighting, and that's good. That makes perfect sense. It's super productive. It's super interesting and fun. It's going to make progress. It's going to solve problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a critique. And I'm just saying, by the way, AI alignment seems to me, and I can elaborate on this in various ways, it seems to me like really, really hard in a way that street lighting will not work quickly on this problem. Like when I say quickly, I mean like it will not work in 10 or 50 years, is my guess.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. This, all right. This, I feel like that this helps me understand. I think I'm understanding where you're coming from better. That this is not that insofar as you're like the ease disease, it it's it's more like the choosing to focus on legible problems than I thought. No, your
I,
face says no.
well, I would say that that's an instance. I mean, yeah, there's all these different things. There's all these different examples we can bring up. They all have their own special properties. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's a few different generalizations that could be interesting. You've that
Mm-hmm.
the generalization you just brought up is an interesting one. Like the ease disease. I mean, I wrote this very quickly, FYI, because it was during Inkhaven, but um, so it's not super deeply
I'm glad
thought
you wrote
out or
it. So
ontologized. But thanks,
better that it exists. Here we are talking about it. Seems great.
thanks. But I just mean that to say I haven't broken this up and analyzed it deeply. Like, what are the different
Mm-hmm.
what exactly the ease disease is, or what's exactly my critique. Like I guess one of yeah, the AI alignment thing is a central example, and then slightly more general, it's just like the idea of like, the, a sense that more is possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's a sense that more is possible about various things. Like we could have super
Okay.
deep understanding of minds and values, so much so that we could possibly solve AI alignment. That's like a sense that more is possible, and then there's this other senses other senses that more is possible in various domains.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like very difficult goals, but very so very difficult goals. Like I guess abstracting that, you know, very difficult goal is relative to the agent. Like you could have it could just be like me. Like I have a very difficult goal that might take me 5 years, and then I could have an ease disease about that, or we could have a whole group of people, or we could have the entire all of humanity have a very difficult goal. Is this making sense? What I'm saying, like ease disease, I guess,
I'm
is
trying to
relative to.
see. I mean, you could have an. So, what does it look like when you have an ease disease about one of your difficult goals, or when I do? Like, how would I know? How would I identify that that's what was going on about my one of my goals?
Mhm. Um, it would be something like, well, an example would be like, you know, uh, well, okay, I'll try to give an abstract example. I'm not sure I want to stand on this as qualifying, but
Okay.
just like any, if you think of any problem where you're just like annoyed by it, and then you do like a little partial solution, that's fine for now, and then it's still annoying, and you do a little partial solution, that's fine for now, and then like eventually you're like, okay, fine, I'll like buy a new trash can or whatever. Um, and in retrospect, you're like, I could have just done that earlier,
But okay, all right.
and that would have
I
been
could
better.
have pursued a more complete solution earlier.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's all complicated. I mean, sometimes it's like you wouldn't have been motivated to do the hard thing until and it's
What's that? When
correct
I
that
thought the
you,
easier, or maybe I thought like,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the several. Not for the first time in this conversation. I'm like, okay, how much is this? Is what you're saying like and unlike the worse is better essays?
I'm
Do
not
you know what I'm
familiar.
talking
Sorry.
about? Okay, it's a series of essays. The first one I think is called Worse is Better, and then there's or like the rise of Worse is anyway. I think there are like three of them back and forth, and it's about
This is by Richard P. Gabriel.
yes, that guy,
Okay.
and he talks about like the right thing or the MIT philosophy versus the worse is better, which is like C and like MIT and Lisp machines versus C and Unix. I think those are what he's saying. And the right
Yeah, Lisp is
thing,
mentioned. Yeah.
yeah, and the right thing is more about complete, like doing the complete thing, and the Unix thing is more about ease of implementation. It's not a very good reference if you. I do think they're interesting essays, but it's not a very good reference if you're not familiar with it. Me being like, is it like that? Doesn't help very much.
Well, maybe one or two more sentences would help. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Unix is. All right, go.
Oh, more do one or two more sentences from me. Sorry.
From you, yeah.
Unix has C and Unix have the advantage. I think a top advantage is like it's very easy to of C is not that it's like an easy programming language to write things in compared to alternatives, but that it's very easy to write a compiler for it. And so C runs. I mean, what like the situation has somewhat changed since he wrote these essays. But the thing about like how C does run on a bunch of hardware because it was like the yeah because it was easy to write compilers for. I think is a big advantage that did make a big difference in practice. Certainly when he wrote this, it's been a while since I've read the essay, but I think it started with him saying something like, oh, but it seemed like Lisp was better, why did C win? And then he was like, maybe it's because worse is better. And then he sort of expanded it into this thing where like the thing that favors ease of implementation. I think he also in that essay says like C and Unix are the ultimate computer viruses. Because they're easy enough to do, and then they're sort of everywhere, and then yeah, they do get better over time, but it's like there are all these sort of less elegant, complete things about them. But then they won, and they do get better over time.
Mm-hmm. It seems interesting, but not in conflict with maybe. But I'm just
It's
being
not
wrong and
very
don't see the
related to what you're
conflict yet.
saying.
Okay.
No, I wasn't saying it was in conflict with what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's sort of like a dialectic. He writes these three essays and he's kind of like, is worse better? Is worse not better? I don't know.
Yeah, is worse better? Like, I don't think it's the same thing that let's see.
It reminded me a lot of what you're saying about the partial solutions. Certainly, I have a bunch of things in my life where I choose to keep doing this sort of temporary solution, and it's true that I could have picked a more complete solution, and I didn't. Maybe I still haven't, and then maybe one day I do.
Okay. Okay. Maybe maybe slightly more narrow, like class of example would be you do the easy solution a few times.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, this is fine, but I really would rather figure out a good solution. And then you're like, oh, I just noticed I don't have enough data about the thing
Mm-hmm.
uh, to figure out a good solution right now. I'm gonna have to keep doing it in inefficient ways, but I'm gonna have to pay more attention and like
Yeah.
do what is sort of locally inefficient in order to explore the problem a bit more. Then I'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to figure out the hard thing. So I mean,
Locally
I'm not saying that there's some.
inefficient.
I'm not.
No, but is there some assumption that like so it does seem true that okay, fine. If I have any goal other than doing what's locally efficient, that would trade off at least some against doing what's locally efficient, I suppose. But I guess I think often, like one really good way to get more surface area with the problem is doing basically what is most locally efficient, but like a tiny bit less efficient because I'm like, maybe not a tiny bit, somewhat less efficient because I'm like attending to it while I do it and like, thinking about it. But other than that, the thing I'm doing is mostly what's locally efficient.
That makes sense. I don't
I
strongly
think it's
disagree.
often. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I
it'll
don't think it
vary
always
between.
is.
Yeah, and I'm just claiming like, if for a lot of things it's somewhat less like that, and for some things it's a lot less like that. And I'm saying for example, for alignment, I'm like, um, I mean, it's conceivable that you like basically you could do machine learning research or whatever. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna align my LLM a little bit better or something with some tweaked RL thing, and I'm like, I you it's conceivable that one could I can con- I can imagine that one could do that in a very mindful and creative and deep way or something, such that one is actually building up relevant and gaining relevant information surface area for the actual alignment problem. But that seems not to be what happens. It seems to not be what happens. And I'm like, yeah,
Okay, but I'm like, that does not seem to be what most people are doing. But I'm also most people who are doing what is called alignment research. But I'm also like, but most people weren't. I don't think we're really that on track to do very much, regardless of the thing you're talking about.
I, I that may be true. Or I'm not sure what I would also make
You're
this
like, why
claim.
am I saying
Well,
that?
I would also make I would make a really I make a really extreme really extreme version of this claim. Like I'm
Okay.
like, um, the your favorite Miri math researcher is also doing this.
Yeah. I
Like,
like I've imagined asking my favorite Miri math researcher, and I imagine my favorite Miri math researcher being like, yes, I am.
yeah, I think that some people will agree that they're doing this, and I'm just like, and then I want to make an argument that this will not solve alignment quickly enough. Um,
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, I'm not inclined to disagree with. I mean, I don't know. I'm the state of confusion overall about what I expect the trajectory of AI to be. So I don't know about that part. But it's not because I'm like, yes, it seems like people are really aiming at the heart of the problem when they're trying to work on AI alignment research.
I mean, like I wonder if you have an ideology that I disagree with, which is like, you know, as long as one is doing something, or the way that I Divya do things, like I can just pop into things. This is gonna be a straw man. Sorry.
That's fine.
Um, as long as I'll just keep bopping into things and then solve things as they come. And by just like thinking about what's happening and paying attention, I will, if there's some important thing in the longer term, I'll just keep gaining information about it, and then I'll be able to address it eventually, or something.
I guess I'm not really sure what that means because certainly when I try to figure stuff out, it involves a bunch of like, okay, let me go meta and try to analyze my thought process. Let me talk to my friends and try to identify my blind spots. Let me try to like do a search and see if anyone new has said anything interesting that I haven't seen recently. Like I don't know if those I'm like those things all count or do they not count as the description you gave?
I guess I want to say Mew, mu.
Okay,
I mean,
then
I
I
want to like.
okay
Sorry, it was a
good. So
reasonable.
maybe we're
It was a
closer
reason.
to
It was a
to some
reasonable.
mismatch.
Yeah. What am I even trying to say? Uh, okay. I mean, I can try to just say the same thing in a different way. Okay. So you know,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
desire paths.
Yeah, yeah, that's like where the grass is worn away because that's where people are actually walking.
Yeah. So there's also a thing that you may have noticed that I've seen a couple times, which is like a boarded desire path. Like you're on like a hill, and it's like there's a normal trail, and then you can go off on a different trail, and there's some brambles, but people have made a desire path through the brambles, but then there's like a
But then it
especially
ends.
brambly bush, and then they just like give up.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Sounds right.
and what I would say is happening there is like, or like one way to view this is, I think I like to think about in general is like when do things add up and when do they not add up across like space and time. Like
Add up.
you know,
Okay.
so yeah, to explain what I mean by adding up, like you know, you can have some belief or something where you are successfully when you're getting contrary information, you don't flip the belief completely because the
Mm-hmm.
contrary information was not strong enough, but you successfully registered it a little bit. You don't have to do perfect Bayesian exact calibrated updating, but at least it's registering somewhat. And then
Yeah.
you keep getting more information, and over time it adds up. Or you can
Meaning
like,
like I come up with some new model that explains it or something like that.
or it convinces you to change your mind. Yeah, like it overcomes your prior or
Yeah,
overcomes
yeah.
your,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, or you can like keep ignoring it or always doing the soldier defeat in detail thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that would be not adding up. Um,
Okay. It's never
that would
adding
be an
up.
example of things. That would be an example of things not adding up over time.
Okay.
Um, sometimes people, sometimes lots of different people want something, but they're all scattered around.
Yeah.
They could become aware of each other and then like work together and make the thing happen, or they could fail to do that for various
Okay.
reasons.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be desires not adding up. That would be like a desire path that doesn't get made.
I I guess. Okay.
Um, and then I'm saying, so the ease disease is, oops, a bunch of desire paths that wanted to get made don't get made
Yeah, but,
because okay,
okay, sorry. But I'm kind of like okay, but some things are actually too hard in some real sense.
if we all work together.
Well, okay, I mean, sure, but like, I'm kind of like, okay, so this is also maybe a straw man. This is probably going to be a straw man. This is my straw man now, where I'm kind of like, okay, you from your view from nowhere are somehow like pre-calculated that it would be better if, but I'm like, where did that calculation come from? Like people tried and they invested some effort, and yeah, like maybe what do I know? Like maybe if they'd invested a little bit more, like that meme of the guy digging and he like stops right before he gets to the diamonds. I'm like, sure. it could be like that, but who exactly is in a position to know that? Like, what perspective exists that can be like, no, this is in some sense inefficient, versus like, I don't know, we people tried, because like it could have been another million miles until we got to the diamonds, in which case it seems like a pretty
Okay,
different
well,
story.
there's at least two answers. One answer is you can there like you can decide to have different epistemics. I mean, you can like I mean, as a general point, you can decide to like try to figure out things more correctly, and if you notice that there's some bias, you can use the fact that there's a bias to
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
right.
I'm
Do
also
you agree with that? Like there's
yes,
like
no, no. There's a
no
reason I
okay
call
so
myself
I'm
a
just
rationalist. Yeah, I agree. People
okay
should do that
so
thing.
cool thanks. Okay, so I'm just saying because there's so I'm just pointing out a phenomenon, which is that oft sometimes am guessing,
Yeah.
and partly I think it's partly validated, although maybe I can't pull up examples immediately, although I could try. I think that sometimes people want something and they didn't check or search or realize that other people would want that. Um,
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So, but if what you're saying is sometimes if you can observe people's, this is a little different from what you said. A thing that I do buy is that sometimes if you or I or someone else can observe somebody's process and be like, that is kind of a crappy process, it wasn't going to work. It would have been better if you used this other process. Like, that's definitely a thing that I think can happen. That seems true.
mhm.
And sometimes they could even be like, oh, if you were like if you cared, even if you like had sort of the same information that you had, but you had some sort of more like, if you cared more, you maybe could have noticed that too, but you didn't. That could be a thing.
Uh,
They both
and
seem
then
kind of different from what you said, though.
uh, sorry, I was only half listening because I was also thinking about the next thing I wanted to say. So you brought
Yeah,
up
yeah, I'm
two
happy to
things.
hear the next thing you want to say also.
Okay, I at least half heard what you said, but
Right.
uh, I mean I was okay. So like one type of like okay, another type of thing that one could do if one believes that there's this phenomenon of aborted desire paths. Another
Yeah,
thing
I mean,
one
in a
could do in
literal sense,
response.
absolutely.
Okay,
And in the metaphorical sense, I'm like, yep, sometimes people try to go away, it seems promising, and then it's not.
so another thing one I don't know if I'll be able to tie this into into the
Okay.
example analogy of the literal aborted desire path, but abstractly regarding the ease disease, I'm saying it's a non-specific. I am trying to like the ease disease is trying to argue that one might want to invest more one than you had thought in non-specific like understanding of things that come from doing things the harder way, where it's not the point isn't to be hard, but the point is to get surface area
Okay.
and to
You
understand things.
think that a lot of people, perhaps like including your audience, perhaps saliently to you in the field of AI alignment, are currently under investing in the sort of like more menial ways of doing things that provide more surface area and more ability to like boggle at stuff and not be distracted by what's legible. I think you're going to be like, no, that's too specific.
Um, it was kind of close.
Yeah. Okay.
The menial doesn't seem right, but
Well, okay. The reason I said menial, doesn't that mean like with your hands? Isn't
it
that like the
sounds
etymology
related.
of that word?
Makes sense, yeah.
And you keep talking about running your hands over things. That's why I
Yeah,
said menial.
it just didn't sound right in the context of. I worry if you said do things with your hands in the context of AGI alignment, people would hear, okay, I should build machine learning systems more from scratch instead of
Okay.
using the libraries. And I'm like, that wasn't really the point.
That wasn't what you meant. Okay. Also, no, it means pertaining to a household. I don't know why I said hands.
Well,
Anyway.
it sounds like it, the MAN manual.
Yeah,
but it's not
well, I
like
said
a,
manual. Sorry, manual. Manually would have been what I probably intended in some sense to
no. Sorry,
say.
I'm saying it makes sense for you. It makes sense to
Yes.
guess that menial, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
Seems like maybe not. But anyway, okay. So you're like, no. That would call to mind people doing things like not using libraries, which is not what you mean.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
I mean,
Fair.
I do partly like the manual metaphor and literal manual things. I just there was that particular problem in that context.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
But it's like, okay.
I guess I should say it feels like a little bit of a stretch what I'm doing of like bringing in this like AGI alignment thing. I guess like
Was that part of your
if
motivation though for writing it?
it is part of my motivation. I feel like there is like an affinity between the all these things I'm saying, but the affinity is unclear, and it's probably not exactly any of my explicit theses so far. Like,
Okay, so a different. I don't know if this is a promising conversational plan or not. A different thing I keep being tempted to do is to tell you about like some area of mine that I consider a research project and be like, okay, what would count as like avoiding the ease disease for me in this area? But I don't know if
yeah,
that's
we could
does
try.
this sound promising or
It
not
sounds
promising.
interesting if you don't mind sharing.
Okay, let's try it a little bit, but I don't know if it's gonna be any good, so we can pivot if it seems pointless.
Mm.
Okay, so I have a project of trying to understand what's up with behaviorism. It's one of those things in my life that I thought it was going to be easy, and that's some of why I got interested, and it was not easy, but I'm still interested. Here I am, whatever, like 15 years later or something, trying to understand it. So how do I not have the ease disease?
Yeah, I've not.
No.
I don't yet know enough to say anything.
Okay, but
What? So I guess when you say understand behaviorism, you mean understand whether and why it does or doesn't make sense to say that, or yeah, can you say
yeah,
anything
like
about that?
so one thing, yeah, so like animal training is a thing. So one thing that's I believe to be the case is that there are a bunch of sort of impressive results or like results that impress me that animal trainers get that I think many people don't really I think they're sort of opaque to most people, and then they have these like and or like I don't know, I think if I asked somebody some just like member of the general population, they'd have like some kind of theory, but it would not be good enough to like to produce the results or anything like that. And not merely because they like I think a thing that's a little bit confusing about it is for me to evaluate it is something like that there are like sort of technical motor skill type things involved too that is a little bit like in some sense that can all be the sort of the same as conceptual understanding, but like it seems kind of different. And then also sometimes they just like part of what's going on is people a little bit like magic tricks, like people put in more effort than seems reasonable and that's why it works. But nonetheless, like I think leaving aside those two bits, there's like some real theory, and they write books. Like I've read a bunch of them about what they're doing, and I think the books have an okay explanation, but not. But I think it's not that good. I think there's a bunch of stuff that's a little bit different from what's in the books.
Where the question is, how is it possible that they get these results, or what's
Like it's true. Like I want to be able to get some of these results, partly as a practical matter, but partly because I want to know what's up. Like I want to understand how it all works and what's up with minds that people can get these results.
mm, mm,
And I do think I've gone down many aborted desire paths with this topic for sure.
mm. Have you? What are some of the main? What's one or two of the main ones? I mean, like, have you tried? You've have an animal that you've tried to train to do various impressive
For
things.
sure. Yeah, for sure. I have dogs, I have cats. I've tried more with my dogs. I mean, a thing that I tried a bunch of was like reading Don't Shoot the Dog, popular book, reading a bunch of books and being like, okay, I'm gonna like follow the instructions in these books and do it. And then it keeps sort of like not, I mean, some of it works straightforwardly and that's cool. And then some of it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, what's up with that? And then, but sometimes I sort of keep trying it and it sort of keeps not working. And I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if this is useful. I certainly have tried to be like, oh, I should not do this like grinding. I should not like keep grinding on these things that don't work. And I've tried to like correct for that, seek out more information or like access my own perceptions more or.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I mean, I guess I don't have a strong opinion that you're doing an East disease. Um, but I mean, if you were, then
Okay, yeah,
if you,
sorry, keep.
I mean, if you were, then it could be like, well, I guess a query
It
would be like,
hasn't. So, but like the fact of there being a bunch of aborted desire paths, you're like that in and of itself is not strong evidence of an ease disease, or is?
no, it would be, I would say it's aborted desire. The point of sorry, part of why I use the example of the aborted desire path is that it's a bunch of different people who keep going there, and then they're just
It's
like,
a bunch of
oh, I'll
different
just turn
people.
around, and like they could do this thing which would seem unnatural and not really make sense, which is you go to the end of the desire path and then you take out your machete, hack off like one branch of the bush, and then turn around, which seems like a very strange thing to do. But if hypothetically they all did that, they would make it further.
I mean, this seems like sort of a funny example because once they have the machete out, they could also cut the whole bush up, right?
Well, but
In
it'd
this
be really
case,
annoying. It could take, maybe it's a bunch of brambles and they don't want to
true.
spend 20 minutes doing that.
Okay, so is that does that seem pretty central to what you're talking about? That you kind of you think there's like a pro-social attitude that people could have that's more like, look, if you get to the end of an aborted desire path, hack off, get out your machete and hack something off, but
Maybe
abstractly.
there's a lot more, yes, abstractly, and then there's a lot more like context dependency. Like sometimes the thing actually is hard. Sometimes no one else cares. Sometimes,
Okay, but on the margin, you think insofar as people are like, oh, I appear to be in an aborted desire path, they should like have an affordance for considering whether to try to hack off a piece of the bramble with the machete.
yes, or we could do this a cutesy rationalist meta thing and say, well, there is an aborted desire path about understanding what to do in general with aborted desire paths, and I'm saying you should stop aborting that desire path and you should think about, oh, it looks like I'm in this situation and I don't even have a general procedure about what to do in this sort of situation. Let
Okay.
me write a less wrong post about it.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
No, no,
like
if you put it that
writing a
way, I'm
less
like,
wrong.
maybe I just agree with you then.
Okay. I mean, in your like, it can also be intrapersonal. Like, what just you
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
like. I keep forgetting that I like. There's this thing that I'm like, maybe it would work to do it this way with my dog, and it's like it just seems hard, and I keep forgetting that I keep
This, yeah.
considering maybe doing it. Yeah.
This, I mean, I say this about a lot of things, but uh, you know, the geometric rationality sequence?
Kind of.
Okay. I'm
I'm
like,
not
oh,
sure.
when you put it that way, this seems to me like not another instance of geometric rationality.
Oh, I don't understand. That's
I do,
interesting.
and maybe it's
Are you able
like I
to?
don't know that I don't know that anybody else would see it this way or that this is like a correct way to see it, but something. And also, sorry, I would like to go kind of soon, not because I'm not enjoying the conversation, but because my
Yeah.
logistics
No
are a
problem.
little more. I could even continue it another time, but for logistical reasons unrelated to the conversation, I would like to go. Let me, yeah. Um,
Before, if you actually have to go like in a second, just tell me so I can stop the
no, no, no.
recording, so I don't lose any.
I have at least a few minutes. No, but so I guess I think of geometric rationality as something like ways to more like ways to coordinate when that are not very VNM like is maybe one that are more like work in terms of, because I'm sort of like, yeah, without necessarily, of course I don't necessarily know like whether it's worth it, how hard, whatever, but the idea that like even so there's some more proportionally themed, I feel silly saying this because I'm like, what do I know? There's something that more works like in proportion to some sort of like how much aborted desire path nature there is. I could do something, and in particular it's like the type of coordinating either intra or interpersonally that does not cause an explosion of politics, which I think of as somewhat central to the geometric rationality ethos.
I didn't understand the explosion of politics. Like this
Well,
could.
so like by explosion of politics, what I mean is something like that some less that the more VNM like approaches to trying to figure out what is collectively useful often are pretty dependent on things that are more like how the individual, how the boundaries are drawn, and try like some sort of claim, like litigating claims about like subjective, like interpersonal comparisons, interpersonal utility comparisons. Not so for the geometric rationality solutions. Like if for example we're trying to use more VNM rational way to like decide which restaurant to both eat at, it could be like, well, it's worth this many utils to me and this many utils to you and whatever. And in a way that I think with like strategic actors who don't have high trust as a bunch of people, like causes what I would think of as explosion of politics, like in some naive sense. Like what it's the whole thing is sort of a bad abstraction, but like in some naive sense, people are then incentivized to like exaggerate about how much they care about it and stuff like that. Whereas if people are more giving answers that are like, I like this one twice as much as that one, instead of trying to compare that on an absolute scale, and then there's like some continuous thing and you could randomize it, like this, I think, does not cause the same sort of explosion of politics.
I'm sorry, I'm dumb. I don't get it.
No,
Or
okay,
like, I mean, so
I'm
you
wrong. Sorry, there's like something
so
here that I find interesting and very resonant, but I think it's ultimately not even. I think it's like sort of a tangent, also.
I mean, you're part of what you're referencing is like the idea of like a strategy-proof bargaining solution.
Yeah, that is sort of what I was saying. That's true, but there, I think that's like that's a whole class of problem math area that I don't ultimately know that much about. Like I'm like I know about those, the second price auctions, whatever. I don't know that much about strategy, which is seems fine, but not
I mean, one
extremely
resonance,
geometric rationality themed.
like, is there like an abstract resonance with the avoided desire path thing of like how to be an agent in a big world with many other agents or something?
In a way that it doesn't that because it I think at first I would, well, like some minutes ago I was like, but from whose perspective are you saying this is inefficient? And you were kind of like, well, something, I don't know. And I was kind of like, no, I get it. Okay, you're when I think of it as the aborted desire path and the hacking off a piece with a machete, I can be pretty agnostic about whether ultimately this results in cutting down the bramble or not. And in fact, nobody is trying to calculate. This procedure, I think, fails gracefully or succeeds gracefully with nobody trying to calculate what is globally the right answer.
Hmm.
And maybe, sorry,
Well,
I don't know.
I guess I may be like misunderstanding that. Like my reaction is like hacking off the machete is one way to go about it, possibly a preferable way. Maybe this is stretching the analogy too much, but whatever. Is like leaving a sticky note on the thing saying like, I think it would be really cool if this path continued, and then like
Hmm.
when you come there and you're like, oh, there's 10 sticky notes here from different people, different handwriting.
Yeah.
You know what? I have 20 minutes right now. I will take out my machete and actually hack
Yeah.
through it or
Okay.
something.
For sure. Yeah. I'm like, yes, this is all resonant in the same way. It was my
Okay, okay,
my felt sense of resonance was not dependent on it being
got it.
the one thing instead of the other thing. That does remind me of a story I heard about a note on the fridge at the old visiting fellow's house that was like the power was out between like 2 and 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Update all food safety recommendations accordingly. It was a sticky note. Okay, I think I understand this much better. Again, I would enjoy talking more, but I think I would like to go for now.
Cool. Just give me a second to. I'll turn off the recording.
Okay.
Uh, okay, the recording